Welcome to Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston, PhD. Glenn has held his doctorate in psychology for more than 30 years and is also a former multi-million-dollar consultant to the big food industry and uses his experience to help you defeat your cravings. This show will help you to focus on dramatically reducing cravings and leave the diet mentality behind, so you can more easily and effortlessly achieve your health, fitness, and body composition goals. Please remember, no doctor-patient relationship is created via this show, and you are responsible for confirming any changes to your diet, health, or psychological routines with an appropriately licensed professional before implementing them. Now, before we get started, if you haven't yet downloaded the free smartphone app to access dozens of these recordings all in one place, as well as to avail yourself of a confidential community for support, motivation, and assistance, please visit the podcast link on defeatyourcravings.com as soon as possible. And now, here's your host, Dr. Glenn Livingston.
Hey, it's the very good Dr. Glenn Livingston at defeatyourcravings.com, and I am here with a very kind woman named Debra, who has agreed to share this session with you to make it possible for you to benefit from her experience and strength and hope and wisdom, as well as her trials and tribulations and stumbles and falls. Right, Debra?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Debra, talk to me a little bit. Give me a little your history with food and let me know how I might be able to help.
Okay, I was a chocoholic right out of the gate. I remember stealing Tootsie Rolls from the grocery store when I was 5. So not only a chocoholic, but a thief. I don't know why that was so. I know that there was a lot of trauma in my family regarding a lot of moving and a lot of consternation between my parents. Maybe that was it, but I guess very early on, I learned that when I felt emotionally dysregulated, the answer was chocolate. It didn't really matter until I got older because I was extremely athletic. So whatever chocolate I consumed was easily burned up in my constant running around. I was a bit of a tomboy. But later, when I got a little older and hit puberty, I started to gain weight. Also, I was brutally sexually assaulted when I was 11.
Oh, my goodness.
And I literally went from 80 pounds to 120 pounds in 6 months. My parents were just completely furious and very punitive toward me.
Towards you?
Toward me. They didn't know I was assaulted. I didn't tell anybody. And so this kind of set this pattern for me where I felt like this protective barrier was there for me, to help me, to companion me, to do all kinds of things for me. But at the same time, I wanted to be slim like any young girl. And by the time I was 14, 15, I was slim again. Then we moved and I gained weight again. Then I lost it again, and then blah, blah, blah. So it went on and on. But toward my mid-20s, 30s, I started gaining weight very seriously up into the 200s and then all the way up to 287. Right now I'm at 235. I've spent the last 6-7 years losing about 10 pounds a year, but not through any sustained effort, through starts and stops and starts and stops. I went to psychotherapy for my troubles and was unfortunately the kind of person who used insight to concretize my bad habit. So instead of saying, yay, I can give this up, I know why I'm doing it, I said, yay, I can do it because I have a very good excuse. And that went on for 30 years. I tried OA, I tried Weight Watchers many times, I tried many programs, many diets, all of them really. And I always had limited success, but I always returned to the chocolate because chocolate had more meaning to me than any of those other things. Eventually, I was unable to sustain any kind of effort as I began to give in more and more and more to this addictive voice, frequently breaking my diet on the first day and so on. I should mention also that during that time, I also trained as a psychotherapist, and I was a very good one, but I could not help myself. So it was baffling, cunning, just the way that OA describes the disease, but their idea of powerlessness did not resonate with me. And I often found that the dictatorial nature of some of the sponsors was also not congruent with the way that I do things. So OA did not work for me. Although, again, I was a very good sponsor to other people, but I could not tolerate the sponsors that I had. So I'm very resistant to authority, I guess, and very resistant to other people telling me what to do, and very resistant to giving up my security blanket. But yet, something inside of me, still alive, wants to. And that's why I'm here.
Okay. I'm honored that you would come and talk to me and share it with the world in this way. It's a very brave and vulnerable thing to do. So that's very kind of you to do that. Do you, Deborah, the psychotherapist, Deborah, the person who's intellectually looked at this and talked to a lot of people about it and seen other people struggle with similar things, do you believe that there are other ways to regulate yourself and protect yourself besides the chocolate? Or do you really believe it's the only thing that protects you and gives you security?
No, I do find a lot of peace and comfort through prayer. I'm a pretty faithful Catholic, and the prayers of the church have really helped me tremendously. The idea of surrendering to the Lord has helped me. The idea of giving up the deadly sin of gluttony has been a motivator. Not motivating enough to have me give it up totally, but motivating enough to have me give it up partially, which is why I've been successful at losing at least 10 pounds a year for the last several years. I wanted to do something a little bit more with that. And I think that getting into meditation spaces and prayerful spaces is just as, if not more than, better than the chocolate. So, for example, if I'm in a prayerful space or meditation space, I don't come out of it feeling groggy, shamed, hungover, unmotivated, lack of energy, just feeling kind of like I don't want to live this way. I come out of it feeling refreshed and energized and peaceful. And it's a matter of turning that habit around. The backward drag, as I mentioned to you in my email to you about this voice that's been with me for 60 years, has just been tremendous. But I know I can defeat it now. I really do believe that.
What brought you to me? What was it about the work that attracted you, or how did you get here?
Well, I had read Taming the Feast Beast 20 years ago or years
Jack
ago,
Trimpey's old
Jack
book.
Trimpey.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I really liked it. I thought, oh, this is really great, but I couldn't make use of it because I really wanted to eat. But when I saw your book, Defeat Your Cravings, I thought, this is exactly right. And it was so compelling because your personal story, which also involved chocolate and also involved psychotherapy and OA and all of the things that kind of paralleled my story, made you so credible to me that I actually believed what I was reading. And I started to apply it to my own life in the last 2 weeks, and it's working. So I can't really say enough about it that you have to be ready, I guess. I had to be ready to actually hear what would work for me and be willing to do it because
Well,
there is a certain amount of pain in giving up the thing that I've depended on all these years for my emotional regulation.
yeah, yeah. What was it that you were ready to hear? I appreciate you believing that I'm a credible source, and I am. This is a real story. But what was it specifically about my story or about the message that seemed more usable to you? Other than the fact that I'm credible, what was I specifically saying that was useful to you?
The most important thing that you were saying was that the addictive voice was not me. There was actually an addictive voice inside of me that was pushing in a way that was not congruent with who I am and who I was originally created to be. And that actually resonated with me 100% from top to bottom because I've never felt like I was a fat person. I've never acted like I was a fat person, even though I've been very fat, but I don't treat myself that way. I don't expect other people to treat me that way. So there's something about being fat that doesn't fit with who I am.
It's not you.
It's
It's
not
not you.
me, and
Yeah.
it never has been me. That's not how I was made. It was not how I started. I was interrupted, and certainly it was a long interruption, but it's over now, and I really felt like that idea of realizing that this push from inside, from my atavistic leanings or my brain that loves to crave things, is not me. I don't have to identify with it anymore. I don't have to think this is all that I am and all that I'll ever be, and it's hopeless. Just that feeling of hopefulness attached to a problem that has been with me for 60 years. It was an amazing feeling. And it made me feel like, I can do this. It's really interesting, Glenn, that when I read the book that some of this theory is based on many years ago, I thought, wow, that is so cool. But I didn't want to do it. I thought, yeah, this is exactly right. But it didn't click. I didn't want to do the work. I didn't want to sit down and write out a vision statement or name my inner voice or get refutations on paper. There was something very resistant within me at probably from that same addictive voice at doing the work that it would take a very simple work, somewhat easy work to actually help myself get someplace different. I just wasn't
Gotcha.
ready.
Gotcha. Oh, and just for legal reasons for the audience, I need everybody to know that addictive voice is a trademark term for Jack Trempe and rational recovery. So I didn't make that up. I'm not actually supposed to use it. So,
Oh, so
so
sorry.
that's okay. You couldn't know. You couldn't know. So we just call it your food demon or whatever you want to call your
I
inner.
actually do call it the demon.
You call it the demon. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The demon. Okay. Would you like to talk about practicalities? Tell me what food plan you're trying to follow.
On the advice of my doctor, I'm doing a kind of an elimination period of just having carnivore products, so meat products and dairy products, limited dairy, to see if I can eliminate some of the gross physical problems that I've been having. I have an autoimmune disease. I have GERD. I have aches and pains and brain fog and all kinds of stuff. So, just to see if we can eliminate some of that with food, I'm doing this limited kind of till Thanksgiving. And then after Thanksgiving, it will be lean meat and vegetables and fruit. And that will
Okay.
pretty much be my diet.
Okay, so right now you're eating carnivore with a little bit of dairy, and you're going to add vegetables and fruit and make it more like a paleo thing after Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Okay.
My two
Um,
biggest problems have always been chocolate and diet soda. And I've eliminated both right now, and
mhm.
I'm never going back. I don't think
Okay.
I can have some.
And have you worked through your big why, the reasons that you're doing this and your big why not? Have you done some of that or
Yes,
you,
I did. I actually wrote a statement of why. And then I noticed that you had asked if anyone was using AI to help them. So I put my statement in Grok and he punched it up. So I don't know if you want to hear them, but
yeah, I do. I'd like to
okay.
hear it. Yeah. And the
Okay,
AI that you used was Grok.
Grok, right. So I said, I comply with my food plan and refute the demon 100% of the time so I can live calm and confidently in a slim, energetic body that moves with athletic grace. I've got the vitality to tackle my days and am eager to connect with others, to grab coffee, take a walk, whatever, without weight and health concerns dragging me down. This is why I comply with my food plan and refute the demon 100% of the time.
Okay.
And then Rock said, I'm the woman who laughs at the demon and watches it vanish in a puff of smoke. My food plan, I follow it with pleasure because it fuels the body I adore. This morning I caught my reflection and grinned. Slim, strong, radiant, skin like I'm 20 years younger. I move like an athlete, fast, light, graceful. Stairs, a game. Long hikes with friends, I'm the one leading. Breathing easy, stories flying. My energy is contagious. People light up when I walk in because I'm fully alive, fully me. No cravings control me. No extra weight slows me. No health worries whisper in the background. I am free. And that freedom is why I keep choosing every meal, every moment to comply 100% and tell the demon to get lost.
Beautiful. I love it.
I do too. Or
Okay.
like,
Okay.
tell me which one you like better and, which one makes your chest puff out. I'm like, oh, it's definitely the grok version.
Good. Good. How can I help? Are you having any troubles or anything that you're unable to refute?
My biggest problem is the kind of idea that you can't do this forever. That's the whisper that comes to me most often. Yeah, you're doing this now, but you're not going to do it forever. Kind of like I'm waiting. I'm in the parking lot doing push-ups, as they say in OA, while you're trying to be abstinent. That bothers me. It bothers me because I really need to crack down on it the minute I have that thought, and I don't. Sometimes I just let it come into my mind and float out, and I go on with my day. But I have to get better at stopping, taking a breath, and saying my refutation.
So the squeal is, you can't do this forever. I'll always get you eventually. I always have and I always will.
Right.
That's the squeal.
That's the
Okay.
squeal. My short refutation is I don't bargain with devils. And my even shorter one is not today, Satan, or
Okay.
get lost.
Not
Um,
today,
Not
Satan.
today, Satan.
Okay.
This is the only way that I think I'm ever going to succeed is to fight back against that inner voice.
Okay.
Even verbal in the background, I'm setting myself up for eventual failure, I believe.
I've spent a lot of years and talked to hundreds of people about this particular squeal, right? I'd love to help you look at this a little more thoroughly. Are you open to
Okay.
that?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So first of all, when a squeal has a hold on us, we often have to start by acknowledging what part of it is true. And most people are afraid to do that. And so your energy kind of gets caught up in it because there's always this underlying thing in the back of your mind that says, yeah, well, it always did get me eventually. Like I've never done this forever so far. Maybe it's right, right? We could start by acknowledging that it always did. It has gotten me before after time. In the past, I could not sustain this, right? So you can start there. And then what you might consider saying, and please jump in if you want to expand on any of this, because it's better in
Okay.
your words than mine. Then you can say, okay, well, first of all, I don't have to abstain forever. I only have to abstain right now because the future is an infinite string of nows. And if I always abstain now, then I am going to abstain forever. Besides, Mr. Demon, you don't have a time machine. You don't have a time machine any more than I do. And the only time you can ever eat is right now. So if I always use the present moment to be healthy, then I'll always be healthy. And then you can say, now, wait a minute. That tends to work when people can bring it back to the present moment and realize that they only have to do it now. Then the nows tend to add up and you get more and more confident. And before you know that, now is turning into forever. But then you realize that that works and that it's kind of like a muscle. The demon wants to distract you and focus on this mythical future when you're theoretically going to be weaker. But if this is a mental muscle and muscles get stronger when you practice, then if I keep working on my ability to bring things back to the present, then my binge-free now muscle, that's what I call it, your binge-free now muscle is going to get stronger and stronger, not weaker and weaker. So at this mythical time in the future, I'm going to be even stronger than I am now. So it's actually less likely that it's going to get me in the future and more likely that I'm going just to become a different person. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I love the idea of bringing it back to the present moment and not allowing the future to drag you out of it because the future hasn't happened. Who knows what's going to happen?
Right.
Anything could happen. I could be very successful and beautiful and slim and vibrant and healthy and all the things that I want to be in that future. I don't have to be what the inner voice is trying to drag me to be.
100%. The other thing is, Deborah, that the nature of human learning is that people fall down and get up until they stay up. And so it's really interesting if you look at the research on people who lose weight and keep it off for 5 years or more, they actually have more attempts behind them, not less,
Mm,
right? Failure is a necessary step on the way to success. And the more you fail, the more likely you are to succeed in the future. So the demon is interpreting this as a weakness, but it's actually a strength. Your ability to keep getting up until you stay up is a strength because people fall down and get up until they stay up. Let's just think about a child learning how to walk. Think about when you learned another language. Think about when you learned something hard in school. Think about anything worthwhile that you learned. There's a process of falling down and getting up until you stay up. The reason that food seems different is because there's a motivation to stay down. It's delicious. We can all admit that chocolate is delicious. We're not going to get anywhere by trying to pretend like it's not. Right?
Through that.
Right. And so there's a motivation to say, well, you should really just stay down. Could you imagine saying that to a little kid who's trying to learn how to walk? Oh,
Yeah,
you've fallen down so many times.
that's it. You're done. You're going
You're
to
done.
crawl for the rest of your life.
Right? Or to a kid who's trying to get potty trained.
Right? It's
Uh,
over, pal. You're going to
Right.
be in diapers forever.
Exactly. Exactly. When the pig says you've always fallen down, you're a failure at this, you can't do it, you're powerless, you have a disease, you can say, prairie poop, I am becoming someone who gets up and stays up. You can collect evidence of success. Anytime you fall down, ask yourself, well, how did I stay up as long as I did? I might have ate a whole pizza, but I didn't eat the box. How come? Right? Or I had 19 Oreos instead of the whole box instead of 20. How did I resist that last one?
Right.
You ask questions that focus on your success. There's a book called Relentless Solution Focus, which is really helpful. You just stay constantly focused on what the solution is, and then that muscle grows too. And you solve all the other little problems. And slowly but surely, the squeal goes away. Slowly but surely, you're not suffering from this self-doubt. And then you realize that this was all about introducing doubt. That's what the demon was up to. It wants you to doubt yourself. And I would imagine that when you're in a prayerful state, that you're not in a state of fear and doubting yourself and thinking about
Correct.
when you're going to screw up in the future. I'd imagine you feel God's grace at those moments and you feel like you've got a faith that you can move forward and that things are taken care of, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. It's an amazing contrast. Yet, in order to maintain my addiction, I will give up the prayer. Do you know what I mean? It's like if the prayer is interfering with the addiction, it has to go. I have to crowbar myself back to good habits over and over again. But like you said, you do it until you stay up. That's kind of how I feel right now. I'm doing it until I stay up.
How much influence does the demon have now that we've talked about this? How much influence does it have with this squeal?
I think it has very little influence altogether. I don't think that the rationale that it uses actually stands up and stays up. It'll stand up, but it won't stay up. It's very easily punctured, as all of them are, which is the kind of the joke on those of us who follow it around so slavishly. It's really very easily refuted if you take the time to refute. It only
Yeah.
takes 20 seconds of delay to change your mind.
There's no self-respecting demon that's going to give up without a fight.
True that.
So you can actually welcome the fight. You can welcome the challenge. You can be excited when the demon is talking. This is your chance to make it even weaker. The only way to kill a squeal is to have a squeal. You have to face these things. The only way out is through.
Right. And somebody else said something the other day that said, everything that you want is on the other side of the things you don't want to do.
Yeah,
And I thought that is kind of true. That is kind of true.
it's very
Um,
true. Are there any other squeals that are bothering you?
the one that got me all my life was you can start tomorrow, but that one's, I think I've defeated that one. But the one that will still pop up in my mind from time to time is you can just have fill in the blank. This one thing. This isn't really that bad. But I've learned that it is that bad. That one bite off the plan is bad because it breaks down the discipline. So I really am strong about refuting that squeal. You can just have this. The other day, my husband brought home donuts from his meeting, which he always does on Saturdays. He has a men's meeting, he comes home with the leftover donuts, and I said to him, before he left, don't bring home the donuts, but he did anyway. I think he was hoping that I'd crack so he could crack, but I didn't crack.
Good.
I said, no, I said, if I eat even a bite of those, it's going to be bad. That's kind of how I felt. And I know he regretted it because every time he opened the trash and saw them sitting in there looking at him mournfully, it's like, oh, the donuts. And I'm like, we're so much better off without them.
I find that husbands come along about a year and a half to 2 years later if you stick with things and you're a really good example. Most of them, some of them never do.
He's actually been on Monjaro for a year and a half or whatever. He had a heart attack, and the doctor wanted him to lose substantial weight, which he did. He's at a normal weight now, but he still has the compulsive eating gene, kind of working in the background. And we'll see if my success creates something in him that dynamic that helps him too. That would be awesome. His weight loss has certainly been inspirational for me.
Good.
It's nice
Okay.
if spouses help each other rather than drag each other down,
Very much.
very
Very
much so.
much. And a lot of times when you kind of focus and take responsibility for your own stuff, then maybe the spouse's demon will try for a little while and then they give up quicker than you think. They wind up
Right.
being on your side. That's what I find for the most part. What I was going to tell you, Deborah, which I think you've intuited for yourself, is that the difference between just having a little and never taking a bite off plan is the difference between who's in charge, you or the demon.
Mm,
You don't want to give the devil a foot in the door, not even a pinky in the door, because he's a master at wiggling his way in once you do that. And it's a question, do you want to be the master or the slave? There's nothing in this world that you can't eat if you really want to. You can always change your food plan and wait 48 hours for it to take effect. Write down why you want to change it. Save a copy of the old one so you don't lose it just in case this doesn't work. We only present the food plan to the demon as if it's set in stone. It's not really set in stone. We can change it as we want to with forethought and consideration. You're not giving up anything. You're giving up nothing except for emotional eating. You're giving up making important food decisions based on emotion and impulse
right.
in order to make them with your intellect.
And using food to regulate my emotions instead of other life actions, which would be more meaningful to me in the next place.
Here's something else that's really interesting. There is a phenomenon called operant conditioning in psychology, which basically says that well, you're a psychotherapist also, so you probably know some of these things. But if you don't mind indulging me just for the audience for a second,
Absolutely.
and I think it would be a good reminder for you, your brain takes notice of the mental conditions you're in when you require chocolate or other highly palatable, calorie-rich food. And it tries to repeat those conditions. And so if you feel re-traumatized, if you feel stressed and anxious and fearful and emotionally dysregulated, as you're putting it, and then you have chocolate, on some level, your brain is taking notice. Your perimeter of survival is taking notice that feeling emotionally dysregulated and fearful and stressed leads to chocolate. And it becomes more likely to create that emotional dysregulation in the future. I always say if you overload the digestive system with digestive tasks, then the nervous system doesn't really have enough energy to conduct the emotions. And so it feels like you've taken away the emotional dysregulation or quote unquote numbed out. But it's
Hmm.
really just a short-term effect. You're actually training yourself to have more emotional dysregulation. This was a real key insight for me because I was brought up with depth psychology. I thought
Me too.
everything, and we who were traumatized got a lot of benefit when we got a lot of help. Sounds like you probably did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But above and beyond that, there's this component of the nervous system that gets conditioned to do whatever leads to chocolate, whatever leads to calories. And so it doesn't matter how many insights you have. It doesn't matter how traumatized you were and what was causing it and, all the things you can tell yourself at those times to calm yourself down. In some ways, it doesn't matter because you're reinforcing the physiological state and giving yourself a more brightly burning fire to deal with. And so I found that I had my priorities wrong. It's not that the psychological insight and psychotherapy weren't really important, but I really needed to eliminate the behavior first because the behavior was reinforcing the pathways. As a result, I had more and more trauma to deal with, not less and less, even though the emotional insights were reducing the traumas in some ways. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it doesn't. It's always that chicken and the egg. Do you give up the food first and then work on stuff, or do you work on stuff and that helps you give up the food? And I think that for myself, and I think what I'm hearing from you is that it worked the wrong way because it didn't help. In fact, it justified, and then the repetition of the ways in which I was re-traumatizing myself through eating, a pound of chocolate a day was actually keeping it going. And the next day I was still in that state because now, in addition to all of the feelings I had to begin with, which were not taken care of by the chocolate, I had the shame and the guilt and the fear of what I was doing to myself on top of all of that. And then that dysregulation led to more chocolate. It was just a crazy cycle that did not seem amenable to depth psychology at all.
Well, I love talking to other therapists that get it. It's very satisfying for me to have these conversations. It was very satisfying. You said you refuted the start tomorrow squeal. Just tell me how you refuted that.
My refutation to the start tomorrow squeal was something that I heard from a dietitian 40 years ago, which is if you can start tomorrow, why aren't you starting now?
Hmm. I love it.
And right? Because the only reason that you start tomorrow is so that you can keep eating. It's a squeal. I mean, it's a real squeal, even if you say to yourself, okay, I just have to have one last meal, but that one last meal makes you so groggy and awful and feeling that you don't want to start the next day. So you're going to start the day after that and the day after that, and decades can go by.
Hmm. I have a client who said, I'm too old for this SHIT. How about you start tomorrow, Mr. Demon?
Yeah, right. You start tomorrow. Yeah, get out of here.
Right?
You come back tomorrow. I am not waiting one more second. I don't
Yeah,
care what holidays, I don't care what anything, what anybody wants. I don't even care anymore. It's like this is my body, my life, and this is what I'm doing. So beat it, Mr. Demon.
so speaking of the holidays, do you feel safe for the holidays? Are you set up for the holidays?
I do. We have planned not to cook this year so that there will be no leftovers, which are always the big menace. Every holiday, we usually slide into the holiday on some kind of diet, and then we have this big meal, and then all the leftovers. And within a couple of weeks, we're off the diet for another couple of months. And then we realize, we come out of our stupor sometime in February going, what?
Yeah,
So we're not doing that this year. This year, we're going out for a nice meal. We're going to enjoy ourselves. There will be no chocolate. There will be no diet soda. And other than that, I will have a nice meal. And then the next meal, I will be back to my new diet, which will be lean meats and vegetables and fruit.
okay. So how confident are you that you can follow through on this for the rest of the year?
I'm at a 10.
You are
I'm at a 10,
100%?
100%.
Okay.
I just feel like this is it. I found something that's actually working for me and that has the kind of elasticity that will make it work for me. Do you know, it's not so rigid that if I break through something, I'm like, oh no, I've screwed it up. I feel like there's a lot of give in the program in terms of lots of different ways to come at the voice that comes from inside you, and that will help me stay with what I'm trying to do. And each time I do that, every day that I do that, every day that I end the day saying, I did it again, I'm living the life I want to live, and I'll be doing it again tomorrow, I just reinforce the idea that I'm strong enough and I can do it.
Absolutely. Do you have any questions or concerns?
Right at the moment, I don't, but I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to talk to you. It's been wonderful.
Would you like to follow up in a couple of months, just after the
Sure.
new year?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Deborah. Have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you, and good holidays to you, Clay.
Okay, you too.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And that brings us to the end of today's broadcast of Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston. Now, if you'd like to find out more about the products and services Dr. Glenn offers to help you dramatically reduce your cravings and stop overeating in 90 days or less, please visit defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. That's defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. Thanks.